Man, you look at the calendar, it's already November 15th. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older that time just seems to fly by. I was talking to this kid the other day, and he's a freshman. He's a freshman in high school. And he's like, "Oh man, I'm never going to be a senior." Do you guys remember that when you were a freshman in high school and you thought your senior year would never get there? And then all of a sudden you blink and you've been out of high school for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years in my case. The time just seems to fly by. And I look at the calendar and it's already November 15th. Guys, we are halfway through the month. At the end of today, we are halfway through the month, and you've got to really look at your organization and figure out where you are and if you are on track to get to where you want to be by the end of November. Listen, what I want to chat with you guys about today is hitting the wall. And I think all of us have done that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in building a business. It could be in other things in our lives. But what do you do? What do you do when you hit the wall? And what I want to kind of explain to you is that success is hard. Success is really hard. Have you realized that? It's like, man, the things that you have to do to become successful it's hard. But I want you to be thankful for that. You see, difficulty is that high fence that keeps out the weak. It keeps out the wannabes. It keeps out the pretenders. So there's more for us, which are the achievers, right? You know, I've never minded hard. You know, when something was hard, I never looked at that as like, oh, that's a big obstacle. I don't mind things that are hard because the harder it is, the easier it is to win. Now, how crazy does that sound? Guys, the harder something is, the easier it is to win. So I want you to look at hard today with a little different perspective. You know, winning is much more difficult when the difficulty level is low and lots of people can do it. You know, the easier the game, the more difficult it is to win. You know, if everybody can do it, success would be a lot harder. You know, when Tiger Woods joined the PGA Tour, he completely changed the game of golf. You know, this kid came on and did things that normal golfers did not do. You know, he hit the ball further. He could just do things on the golf course that most players could not do. And the PGA, the Pro Golfers Association, they changed the game. You know, they made courses longer. They made courses narrower. They made the greens more difficult to putt. Why? Because Tiger changed the game. And by them making all of those changes, that played right into Tiger Woods' strategy. It played right into his hands. Because he said, I don't care how hard you make it. I'm better than you. And if you're going to make the course harder, it's going to be way more difficult for you than it is for me. And so when the PGA changed the courses and they made them longer and they made them harder, that's when Tiger went on his incredible winning streak. You know? So since most people don't do hard or they won't do hard, success is actually pretty easy. So guys, whenever you hit the wall of difficulty, I want you to smile. I want you to smile a little bit. Like you're sitting in your office and you're sitting in your house or whatever, and something happens to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I just hit this wall. I want you to smile. Because each wall that you have to crawl over, you leave your competition behind. You know, every wall is a fence that thins out the herd. You know, the more walls of difficulty, the fewer that can hang with you and the more success that you can enjoy. Now, I don't know how many of you are runners, but and I'm not a runner. Trust me, I am not a runner. But my wife Colleen is a runner, and I've gone to. She's run 5 marathons, and I watched the start of these marathons. And even if you watched the New York City Marathon a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, did you notice how crowded everything is at the beginning? And I know they put the elite runners up first, so they don't have to dig through the crowd. But at the beginning of a race, Everybody's crowded. It's like, oh my God, this is a madhouse, right? It's really, really crowded at the beginning of the race. But when these runners would get to the first wall, and my wife always said the first 3.5 miles or 3.2 miles was always the hardest. She didn't like 5Ks. She said running a 5K was so difficult for her because she was just getting warmed up. But for a lot of runners, that's the first wall. So when you get to the first wall, what happens? Many of the runners fall. And the race continues, and then here comes another wall. And that's where many more people fall. And just when you think the coast is clear, there's another wall. And the most who are left will fall. And now it's just you and a few. And that's what's known as the exception. So you become the exception. So I want you guys to bless the wall. I want you to kiss the wall when you hit it. Because we're all going to hit a wall. The wall, yet difficult to climb over, is making your pathway to success easier and easier. So don't avoid the wall, okay? Run towards the wall. Do the most difficult things to make progress towards your goals. And guys, the more walls you hit, the further you separate yourself from everybody else and your previous self. So I really, really wanted you guys to look at difficulty today and things that are hard in a whole new light. You know, when you're looking at your list of people that you need to contact today, and there's like, you've got a bunch of names on there, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a long day. This is going to be tough. Embrace that. Embrace that. You guys, when I was building my business in the early 90s, they would have this, the company had, they always ranked the top income earners. You know, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they always had a list of the top 100 money earners. And I was really, you know, I wanted to move up the list. I did. I wanted to move up the list. And this time of year is when I knew that I could really make progress. Because most people use the excuse of the holidays to not work their business. And I always told my group, I said, listen, you guys, we got to go hit this thing hard right now. Because most people won't. Most people look at hard and they don't do it. It's like, oh, I can't work my business over the holidays. I'll wait till Thanksgiving is over, and then I'll wait till Christmas is over, and then I'll wait till, after the new year. And it's like, all right, go ahead. I always used to say, yeah, go ahead. Not on my team, though. Other teams would say that to me. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. And I'd be like, you're just adding fuel to my fire. Because most people won't do it. And just understand, you guys, when you run across something that seems to be hard, just smile and go, all right, if I do this, I'm going to propel myself way further ahead than most people. And so look at hard today, look at difficult with a little different eye, because the more walls you crawl over, the further you leave people behind and the more success you will have. So look at it a little bit differently today. And all of a sudden, what you think was hard becomes easy. Guys, remember when you first learned how to ride a bike and how hard that was? If you can remember that far back, you're like, I am never going to be able to ride this bike. And all of a sudden, today, you jump on a bike and it's like breathing. You don't even think about it. And when you're calling people today and letting them know about this incredible opportunity, it's like breathing. I don't even think about it. I was like, yeah, this is what we do. Yeah, this is what we do. Let me explain something to you. Let me offer you something that can really, really help you. Nothing I have to prepare for. I say the same things over and over and over again. But to somebody who's brand new, they look at it as hard. And it's like, yeah, it'll be hard until it's not. And most people in our profession, most people in life, you guys, they stop at hard. They're like, no. And they look for the path of least resistance. It's like, no, climb over the wall. Climb over that wall until it becomes easy. And when it becomes easy and what you're doing is working, then it certainly doesn't become work anymore. Then it becomes you're just living. And I hear stories every single day of people who are just living their life, and their business comes along with them. Whether they're, traveling and they meet people on airplanes, or they meet people in restaurants, and you just help somebody along the way. Just do it because it's the right thing to do, right? And the success stories that are coming out of all corners of the world with this program are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And hard becomes easy. So don't run away from hard. Run through it, and it will become easy.